I remember before I met Scott, Laci telling me all these things about him. And I remember saying, as her mother, I hope he's not filling her with crap. I have learned to go with a gut feeling.
911?
Yes, my daughter's been missing since this morning.
And he's like, he looks at right at me and says, Al, where's the trust? I mean, that's what he says to me. Where's the trust?
Sorry guys, you have to have like no emotion when doing these videos, but when there's kids and babies, it makes you so angry. Hi guys, I hope you are doing well. In today's video I'm covering the case of Laci Peterson. Laci Peterson was a pregnant American woman when she sadly lost her life at 27 years old, and she was born on May the 4th 1975 and passed away what experts believe on 24th of December 2002. So I'm just going to do my makeup. I'm just going to put my hair up in a clip thing because my hair, I washed it last night and it's all fluffy and I look like Hagrid. So I'm just going to be doing normal everyday makeup while telling you about this case. I'm just going to hydrate my face first. Nice and cold. So Laci and her husband Scott Peterson met through a friend and they dated for 2 years before finally moving in together in 1997. In 2000 they bought their first house. Laci's family and friends spoke of Laci very highly. They loved her to pieces. She was this energetic, bubbly, friendly person, and she really devoted her energy on being this perfect housewife, and she really wanted a family. In 2002 she found out she was pregnant with a boy and they decided on calling him Connor, and he was due on February 10th 2003. Now, even though Laci always wanted a family, Scott didn't, and then he eventually changed his mind, and they had a nursery in their house for baby Connor and everything was all prepared, ready for his arrival. On December 24th, Scott told Laci he was going to go fishing. Now, he said the last time he saw Laci was around 9:30 a.m. that morning, and that she planned on doing some housework, bake some cookies and walk their dog called Mackenzie. Scott goes fishing. He says he has gone fishing in the San Francisco Bay at Berkeley Marina. At 2:15 p.m. Scott leaves Laci a voicemail. He said he returned home that afternoon, came home expecting to find Laci, but she was nowhere to be seen. However, her car was in her drive and her bag was still home. So this was odd. So he went knocking on neighbours' doors and asked, have you seen Laci? And they said no, they haven't. But one of the neighbours confirmed they saw their dog Mackenzie running around about 10:30 a.m. and it was still on the lead. It was quite muddy, and so they brought the dog back into their back garden and didn't think anything of it, just thought maybe the dog escaped. Now, Scott rang Laci's mum and was like, have you seen her? And she said, no, I haven't. And even her stepdad didn't know where she was. And experts said that before Scott made these calls to his mother-in-law Sharon, he changed his clothes and washed them. He had a shower and he ate pizza. Now, I'm not actually 100% sure on the details of how they found that out. I believe he told them in a police interview. But it's like, your wife's missing, your pregnant wife. She's 7 months pregnant at this time. She's gone missing. Her car and her bag are there. Her phone's there. You can't get hold of her. So where is she? She took the dog for a walk. The dog's found its way back home, luckily. And her mum was really worried because she's a heavily pregnant woman, and where she likes to go for her walks, it's a very muddy place to go, and if she had fallen and hurt herself and she's not with anyone, that could be very serious. Like, she could be laying in a pile in the mud, you know, not able to get out. Her mum reported her missing shortly before 6 p.m. The next day, the police get the report on Christmas Day. Everyone's searching for her. You know, everyone's meant to be waking up all excited, opening their presents. But unfortunately, Laci had been missing and she hasn't come home yet. And her family and friends are worried for her. You know, she shouldn't be out by herself, and she's pregnant. But everyone in the search party said that Scott was acting very weird. He was so calm, cool, collected. His face was just so expressionless, and it's like he showed no emotion. There was no urgency to find his wife. You know, he wasn't really showing any sort of worry or concern for her. So this raised alarms to his mother-in-law, Sharon. There was a reward out for Laci. First of all, it was $25,000. This went up to $250,000, and then finally it went up to £50,000 for anyone who had any information or who could help find Laci. Flyers were going up on the streets, you know, photos of Laci. There were even photos of her with her husband. But Scott was like, I don't want my face being shown on these posters. Take them down. He took them down and binned any that he could find. His whole demeanor was really strange. Like, why is that such an issue for you if you're concerned about your wife going missing? Surely you'd want everyone to know what she looks like, regardless of who's in the photo. So that raised alarms for her family and friends. The detective on the case became very sus of Scott. You know, he was the one who noticed his weird behaviour, and then Scott was like, where's the trust, you know, when he realised he was a suspect. And the detective found this very strange. So the detective was like asking him all these questions, was like, you know, when did you go fishing, what time, just try and lay out the events of what happened that day.
Tell me about the morning. Okay. I don't know what time we got up. Probably Laci got up and went and assumed she had some cereal for breakfast. She eats right when she wakes up, otherwise she gets sick because she's pregnant.
Now, neighbours had confirmed, and even Scott's family had confirmed, he said he was going to go fishing prior to Laci's disappearance. But to me, this just seems like he's creating an alibi for himself. Like, well, I was going to go fishing anyway, regardless of Laci's gone missing or not. So as the details unfold, it's very strange how he claims his innocence still to this day. But we all know, and if you've heard of this case before, he is guilty. Now, shortly after this hit the news, like, this was quite a big story in the area, a woman named Amber Fry came forward and said this is her boyfriend. Scott Peterson was her boyfriend. In the news and the media, everyone claims she's a mistress and said that she knew about the marriage. However, she didn't, and I do believe her. And she went on the stand, not in the court, but like in front of like reporters and stuff, to explain her story and to basically confirm everyone's suspicions about her, because obviously if you put two and two together, his wife's gone missing, there's a girlfriend in the background, there's a motive here. However, people who are defending him on the jury were saying just because he has a girlfriend and is having an affair doesn't make him a killer. Okay, but you can't dismiss that until you look at this story first with Amber. Now, Amber said, I just need to lean forward a bit because of my eyebrows. Amber said that she met him in November, so literally a month before, and Scott had told her 2 weeks prior to Laci's disappearance that he had lost his wife and this is the first Christmas without her. But she didn't know that he was married, and he didn't tell her that she'd gone missing. The detective on this case found it very strange how Amber Fry came forward after Laci's gone missing, and if it wasn't for Amber with this crucial information about her relationship with her and Scott, detectives wouldn't be able to piece things together. She basically said 2 weeks before Laci went missing, he had told her that he lost his wife. Now, why would he say that if Laci was still at home with him? And the detectives thought, and still to this day believe, he was planning on killing Laci. Now, detectives were really interested to see what things Scott would say on the phone to Amber. At this point, he didn't know that Amber knew, even though it's in the news. I don't know how he didn't clock that. He's not a very smart guy, but anyway, they wired Amber up tracked her calls so they can listen in, hopefully trying to catch Scott out and get a confession. Amber did really well at this. She remained calm despite knowing that he was possibly involved with his wife's disappearance. Amber then confronted him and basically questioned him like, you said that you lost your wife. You didn't say you were married and she'd gone missing. I only found out because of the news. Like, how could you keep this from me? And she had a daughter herself, may I add, you know, and Amber asked him, do you have any kids? And he was like, no, your daughter would be more than enough for me, even though his wife Laci was pregnant. So he clearly didn't want a kid. And it's like, why didn't he just say this to Laci so she could divorce him and go and be with someone who wants a family? And as Amber, in her, you know, rightly so, she has a young daughter and she's possibly dating a killer. At this point, she is just panicking and she let this man around her daughter, and it could have been her. It could have been her who'd gone missing. There was even a candlelight vigilant for Laci, and Scott called Amber and said that he was in Paris seeing like the fireworks, but she knew he wasn't there. But then later reports, Laci's family said he was never at that candlelit vigil. Like, why are you not there? That's your wife, you know. And he wanted to sell the house, he sold her car, and this is all before she's gone missing. And his excuse for this was, I don't want Laci to come back home in a place where she's gone missing, possibly kidnapped, and make her feel like she's not safe. That would be the last thing on your mind if your wife or husband or anyone you love's gone missing. Yeah, I don't know where she is, but let me go and sell all her belongings. It just doesn't make any sense. Now, the detective on the case said to Scott, look, I need to rule you out, okay? When someone goes missing, it is usually 9 times out of 10, their loved ones who do this. And typically, women are killed more by their partners than men. And this had to be brought to the attention of Scott to say, look, we need to make sure you're not involved and just to eliminate you and then move on to the next suspects. In the area, on the same day Laci went missing, there was a burglary in a house nearby. Now, these guys were caught and they were put on polygraph tests to say, look, this lady's gone missing. Did you kill her? Did you kidnap her? They were like, whoa, no, we did not. We don't know this woman. We have no involvement with her. But still to this day, Scott says they took her. And this was like a perfect way for him to try and lie more to people and to public by saying, oh, there was a burglary in the area, they must have kidnapped Laci. Well, if that were the case, why didn't they burgle her house? Her house remained perfect, nothing was taken, no items were removed or smashed on the floor, there was no sign of any struggle, and her belongings were there, all their belongings were there, so why would they take Laci? Doesn't make sense. Detectives ruled them out as having any part with this disappearance in Laci. They believed that they did just rob the house. On April 13, 2003, 2 people were walking their dog and they find a male fetus laying on the shore by the bay in San Francisco. The following day, a jogger found a torso, just a torso, a mile away from where the baby fetus was found. The bodies were so decomposed that they couldn't make out if the torso was a male or female. There was no head, there was no limbs, just the torso. Oh, Jesus, makes me sick. DNA testing later revealed that the body did belong to Connor, her unborn son, and the torso belonged to her. Still to this day, her head and limbs are nowhere to be found. She had 2 broken ribs as well. They believed what happened was she was weighted down by her ankles and wrists so much that everything just came apart, and because she had passed away, her body just gone her out. Fuck, so sad. Fuck's sake. Sorry guys, you have to have like no emotion when doing these videos, but when there's kids and babies, it makes me so angry. God, I can't stop crying. Come on, just done my makeup. Stop. About to do my eyes as well. On December 27th, before the bodies were found, detectives found Scott's boat, and inside there was a long black hair, and they believed it was Laci's. Now, to this day, I don't know why they didn't DNA test it. The only thing that was believed to have been DNA tested was a bit of duct tape that was found on the torso. They did DNA testing, but however, it was of significant quality for DNA testing, which is really annoying because that probably would have led Scott's fingerprints right to it. I mean, he was charged under circumstantial evidence. There was nothing actually concrete proof that tied him to the disappearance and murder of his wife and unborn child, but there was a lot of things that pointed it in his direction, and it just baffles me how anyone thinks he's innocent, including his family and his sister-in-law, who all believe he never did anything to harm her. And it's like, okay, they haven't got fingerprints or his DNA to match it to her. Everything he's saying doesn't add up, and the way he's acting and behaving, and he didn't shed a tear, like, he doesn't care. And the call to Amber as well 2 weeks prior, that's shady, that is suspicious, that is like red flags and alarm bells, and you'll be silly if you think he's innocent. But I don't know why they didn't test that black hair, because if they confirmed it was hers and he went fishing on that boat exactly where their bodies were found, and you're telling me that people think he's like not guilty, it just baffles my brain hole. It really does. It's like you got two bodies in an area where he confirmed to the detectives he's gone fishing. Now if he had gone fishing somewhere else, that would be fine, but it's kind of like he didn't think the bodies will be found, hence why Laci's torso was found and not the rest of her body. And please believe that he used something to tie her down so her body would sink and wouldn't rise back up, and they believed it was cement because he said to detectives he made an anchor for the boat. Doesn't it already have anchors? I don't know, it's only a small shipping, like fishing boat. I don't know anything about boats, but why would he need to make an anchor for a boat? Surely that's like the main thing that it will come with, like, you know. But detectives believe he made others out of cement because they found like loads of bags of cement, and he said to the detectives he was going to use the rest of it to lay his driveway. But you're selling your house, Scott. Why do you need to lay down your driveway? Your house was in perfect mint condition. Nothing needed changing or updating. So they believed he used this to weigh her arms, like her wrists and her ankles down, and they believed that this is what caused her limbs to, you know, come away from her body. After this discovery, detectives now want him in for an arrest, and they put a tracker on his car and they track him heading toward Mexico, and they're worried that he's escaping, and he switches cars. And this is strange because it's like, why are you switching cars? And he knew he was being followed, but he thought it was the media, so that's probably why. But they were able to trace his calls to his brother, and he has planned to go golfing with his dad and his brother in Mexico, where he was caught. Now he was caught with his brother's ID, and they were like, this is weird, why are you caught with this? And their dad said that he was using his brother's ID to get a discount on the golf that they play golf at, which, okay, fair enough. But he dyed his hair blonde and beard, and he looked a lot more like his brother. Now maybe he did that to look like him in the photo to get this discount, but the detectives found this odd. He was found with Viagra in the car. He was found with 4 different phones and £15,000 in cash, loads of clothes and camping survival equipment. Now if he hadn't planned on going camping, if he was like, I'm going on a camping or fishing trip after this golf session, it wouldn't be as suspicious. But he was like, I'm not going nowhere, I'm not on the run. But police found this odd because it's like, why you got loads of change of clothes if you weren't planning on running away and you were going back home after the golf session. Doesn't make any sense. On April 21st, he was charged with 2 counts of murder of his wife and unborn child. And of course, he pleaded not guilty. I just need to move this mirror in because I can't see my eyelashes that far away on the camera. I'll just get this other one. On November the 12th, 2004, the jurors found him guilty and he was actually sentenced to death. But this was later overturned by a judge and he just got life without parole. Still to this day, Scott claims his innocence. He is going with his story. He told the cops that Laci was kidnapped by burglars in the area. Okay, well, if that didn't happen, what would his excuse or story be? You know, he didn't really help with the search. He didn't want photos of himself with Laci in these photos. He was cheating on her, so he was clearly unhappy. You know, he was telling Amber he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her unless she was just a side piece. You know, but he said to her he didn't want kids, but yeah, his wife was pregnant. And then you're telling her you've lost your wife 2 weeks before she's gone missing. But at this point, Amber thought she had sadly passed away, you know, and thought he was a widower. And it just doesn't make any sense. And his family are still fighting for his innocence. And he's now like 50 odd, like 57 odd. And Laci was 22 when he met her and was 27 when she had her life taken away from her by someone she thought loved her. There are a lot of people who think he's innocent, but more people know he is guilty, and I am one of them. I'm sorry, but the evidence just all points toward him. You know, I'd understand if he'd been frantic looking for her. You know, if that were my boyfriend and I'd gone missing, he'd go looking for me all night long, and he wouldn't stop. But Scott was still sleeping and going about his day. He was trying to get the house sold and her car. That's the least of your concern. Your main concern and priority should be finding your pregnant wife. You know, she went missing, she went for a walk, the dog came back on his own, but without Laci. I tell you something, if only dogs could speak, like that dog probably saw what happened to her. Laci and Connor are buried together in a private cemetery, and to this day their family still believe it was Scott who took their lives. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please give it a like, comment and share with your friends. Comment below what you think of this story, because there's always new stuff coming out to light of if he's innocent or not. But yeah, I think he's guilty as hell, and I hope he rots in prison. Take care, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.